Hey everyone. Today we're going to go over the AP Computer Science Free Response question, 2024 question 2. So let's go ahead and get started here. So this question involves a scoreboard for a game. The game is played between two teams who alternate turns so that at any given time, one team is active and the other team's inactive. During a turn, a team makes one or more plays. Each play can score one or more points, and the team's turn continues, or the play can fail, in which case no points are scored and the team's turn ends. Okay. The scoreboard class, which you will write, is used to keep track of the score in a game. Scoreboard class is a constructor and two methods. A constructor has two parameters, the name of team one and the name of team two. The record play method has a single non-negative integer parameter that is equal to the number of points scored on a play, or zero if the play failed. The player results in one or more points scored. The active team score is updated, and the team remains active, so they don't hand it over to the other team for their turn. If the value of the parameter is zero, then the turn ends, and it's the other team's turn. Okay. The record play method does not return a value, so it's void, returns void. GetScore method has no parameters. Method returns a string containing information about the current state of the game. Return string begins with the score of team one, followed by a hyphen, followed by the score of team two, followed by a hyphen. Okay. So this is kind of what the call structure looks like. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So we can just open up. I'm going to have a new package. Call this question 2. And let's call this class scoreboard, like they call it. And close out the rest of these. So they're going to have two attributes that are going to be initialized in the constructor. So team one name and team two name. Additionally, we also need something to keep track of whose turn it is. For this, we could use a string, sorry, not a string. We could use a integer and set it to either 0 or 1 or 1 or 2. Or we could just use a Boolean. I'm going to use a Boolean here. So team one turn. So basically, if team one turn is true, that means it's team one's turn. If it's false, it means it's team two's turn. All right, so I'm going to write the constructor here, which is just going to initialize. So it's going to take in two arguments, T1 name and T2 name, string T2 name. And it's going to initialize our Team1 name to be what's passed in, and this Team2 name equals T2 name. All right. And lastly, we're going to, I think the game mentions it always starts with, the game always begins with team one as the active team. So let's start with this being true. Team one turn equals true. All right. And then we're going to have a record play method that returns, it has a non-negative integer parameter that is equal to the number of points scored. And this doesn't return a value. So that should be enough to give us our method signature. So public void record play and int, let's just call it points. Okay. And so let's look at the record and play method. So the parameter is the number of points scored on a play, or 0 if the play failed. So if the play results in one or more points scored, the active team score is updated and the team remains active. If the value of the parameter is 0, the active team's turn ends. Okay, so we're going to need a couple more parameters, a couple more attributes to keep track of in the class here. So we're going to have, in addition to team one name and team two name, we're going to have the score of team one. So team one score and team two score. So let's also initialize these in the constructor. So we're going to set team one score and team two score equal to 0. And so let's think here, if, 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 so it is team one's turn. Whoops. So if it's team one's turn, we're gonna sort of update the team one variables. Update team one score. Otherwise, we're going to update the team two score. Okay. So there's two cases here. So if it's team one's turn and the number of points is 0, so if points equal 0, then what we want to do is we don't want to update the score. We just want to hand it over to team two. So we're going to say this dot team one turn is false. So that's our way of saying, okay, it's not team one's turn anymore. Otherwise, if it is not 0, so if it's actually, since we know that points is greater than or equal to 0, we don't have to like check the case where points is negative. So let's do that. So let's update team one score. So we're just going to assume that points is positive now. So we're going to say this dot team one score plus equals points. And we don't update team one turn to be false, because if they score positive points, then we just want them to keep playing. They get to keep playing. And then we basically have the same thing over here. If points equal 0, this dot team one turn is now true. So this was the case where team one turn was false, so it was team two's turn, but points is equal to 0. So team two scored 0 points. They're handing the turnover back to team one. And then in this case, team two score. So if the points is not 0 and it is team two's turn, we just add the number of points to team two score. And that's pretty much it. All right. And then the getScore method has no parameters. It returns a string containing information about the current state of the game. The return string begins with the score of team one, followed by a hyphen, followed by the score of team two, followed by a hyphen, followed by the name of the team that is currently active. Okay. So we can do this. So let's write out the structure. Public. It's going to return a string, getScore. And so let's say our string score is going to be, it's going to be team one score, followed by a dash, followed by team two score, like that. And followed by a hyphen. Actually, let's add some space in here just so there's a little wiggle room. All right, and then the last thing that we need to add on to this is the name of the team that's active. So what we can do is, let's just call it active team equals this if this dot team one turn. So that means active team is going to be this dot team one name, else the active team is going to be this dot team two name. And then at the end, all we want to do is return score plus another hyphen plus the active team, like that. All right. And then let's go ahead and write a driver class to test all this logic out. So public static void main string args. And let's write out a scoreboard. So let's just copy out this game. Let's do that. And then let's have this. So we're going to store, so the game score we're going to store in some string called info. And let's just go ahead and print out info. So this should match this 0 red. Go ahead and run that. Great. Next, let's this and print out the game again. So we can just copy this again. Oops. This time we don't need to declare the type. And this time we expect it to be 1-0 red. Right. And then game.recordPlay 0. And let's do this again. Expect it to be 1-0 blue. Do a couple more. Let's do this one, game.recordPlay 3. And after this now, we should have 1-3 blue. Let's make sure that is what we have. And cool. There you have it.